Wow, wow, wow. You're going to want to leave a like on this video because it looks like we may be headed in the right direction. Karmelo Anthony has now been indicted, and I myself admit I was concerned that they were going to give this young man, a lesser charge based on the way that literally everything has been going. But good old Texas, shout out Texas. They have indicted him on the most severe charge that they had planned. I want to go into the district attorney who made an announcement about it and so much more. Thanks for watching. By the way, I live stream on a channel called Quartercast. I'll leave it linked in the description below every day, Monday through Friday. And you want to tune in there to get, go subscribe so you get updated on everything. Breaking, DA County District Attorney Greg Willis has announced today that Collin County Grand Jury has indicted Karmelo Anthony for first degree, of taking a life in the first degree in Frisco track meet. This is massive. There will be court documents, court documents that will be released in the next 24 hours. So I should have them in tomorrow's update. We'll see maybe a little bit more about, what the case is. And also, it does not look like, so for people asking, does this affect his bail? No, not really. And just to give everyone a quick reminder, the DA, district attorney, recommends charges. Then a grand jury looks at everything and basically says, hey, are these charges appropriate or are they overstated? Or maybe they might throw out the case altogether. In this case, they looked at all the available evidence and gave Karmelo Anthony the strictest, most brutal charge they possibly could, which basically tells me there is no evidence of self-defense at all.
Good afternoon. Earlier this spring, our community was shaken by what happened at a school track meet in Frisco. The violent loss of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. For weeks now, my team has been presenting evidence to the grand jury, and today I summarized that evidence, and I asked the grand jury to return a first-degree murder indictment against Karmelo Anthony, which they did. With this indictment, the case now moves formally into the court system. From this point forward, we'll continue doing our job both fully and fairly to pursue justice under the law. As for the scheduling of the trial, that will be up to the court. But when the time comes, we will be ready.
Hopefully by tomorrow, we'll figure out when the trial may be. I have a strong suspicion they're going to push this out into next year when people will forget about all the details of the case and forget all the racially charged donations, which really have nothing to do whether or not he did it. But that's generally what they do with divisive cases like this. I would love to see Austin Metcalf get justice this year, but let's continue what he has to say.
Now, we know that this case has struck a deep nerve here in Collin County and beyond. And that's understandable. When something like this happens at a school event, it shakes people to the core. But let's remember that the justice system works best when it moves with steadiness and principle. That's what we're committed to, and that's what this case deserves. We're also mindful of Austin's family and everyone who loved him. Please keep them in your thoughts, and if you're willing, your prayers as well.
Nice statement.
Finally, let's remember that a defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court.
That's true. Now, in my opinion, he's guilty, but let's go look at some of the replies, and then we'll look at the media reaction. So Sarah Fields posted this video and then said, as soon as the court documents are available, I will release them to the public. This is usually within 24 hours. And for everyone asking, no, this will not affect his bail. This says, good liberals need something new to protest about since they won't be trying about Iran anymore. Karmelo will have his day in court. I'm sure we don't have this whole story about what transpired that day. I want to know why a 16-year-old boy named Austin Metcalf needed to pass away. I think, the question is, why did it take so long, right? What's going to happen to the give, send, go? What's going to happen to the $500,000? Well, as far as I know, it would be nothing. There should be, the money was raised for his legal defense. This doesn't change anything about his fundraiser. Is he being charged as an adult? Yes. Did the Anthony family ever gain access to the fundraiser money? This should be a layup. Anthony already confessed, and supposedly there's a video that proves Metcalf never even touched him. I remember when Frisco was a safe, nice place to live. Obviously, accountability. Now, this case still has to go to trial, obviously, where he could still be found not guilty. But at least the DA is not recommending like a manslaughter charge or something like that, you know? So here's, TMZ reporting on it. Charged with first degree. I believe that carries a sentence up to 20 to 25 years. But because he's 17, he can't be given life. For weeks, he said in announcing the indictment, my team has been presenting evidence to the grand jury. I summarized that evidence, which we saw. Willis's office announced if Anthony is convicted, he faces up to life in prison. Here's their take on it.
Today's indictment of Karmelo Anthony is an expected and routine step in the legal process. An indictment is a procedural step that happens in virtually every felony criminal case.
Mm-hmm.
It's a document that lays out for both the prosecution and the defense what the prosecution must prove beyond a reasonable doubt in court. That's all an indictment means. Karmelo and his family are confident in the justice system and the people of Collin County to be fair and impartial.
So this is, by the way, this is Karmelo's lawyer speaking here. He issued a video response a short time after the indictment. He's going to stress, let's see here.
Of course, Karmelo looks forward to his day in court.
I doubt it.
It's only in a trial that a jury will hear the full story, one that includes critical facts and context that the grand jury simply didn't get to hear.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's only in a trial that both sides get to present evidence and cross-examine each other's witnesses. This is why our justice system is based on the principle of a full and fair trial.
Which he should get.
That's because it's only in a trial that the full story can be heard and that impartial justice can be done. We expect that when the full story is heard, the prosecution will not be able to rule out the reasonable doubt that Karmelo Anthony may have acted in self-defense.
Based on what?
Self-defense is a fundamental right guaranteed every American. The law is clear. When self-defense is raised by the facts, the law puts the burden squarely on the prosecution to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the citizen accused did not act in self-defense.
Well, in this case, there was no evidence that he did act in self-defense other than him throwing his hands up and saying, I did it in self-defense. There is no evidence that he acted in self-defense. There is only the random statement that he was a place that he shouldn't be and he was asked to leave and he refused to leave. That is not a, hey, you can't just say self-defense and then say, well, now the prosecution has to prove it wasn't. There's got to at least be some evidence of it.
The law does not expect or require the citizen accused to prove that they acted in self-defense.
Wow.
It's actually the opposite. The law requires the prosecution to rule out the reasonable doubt that the citizen accused may have acted in self-defense. We understand that this case has sparked strong reactions. Please remember that there are real human beings, kids, on both sides of this case.
But one of them's not alive anymore.
We ask that everyone do as the law requires and withhold judgment until all the evidence can be heard in court. We are confident that when all the facts are presented and the full story is heard, the jury will reach the right conclusion and
Guilty.
Justice will be done.
Well, I mean, the lawyer is, of course, this is what he's going to say, right? The mainstream media, say according to the arrest warrant affidavit, Anthony was waiting out a weather delay in a tent designated for Frisco Memorial, where Metcalf attended school. When Metcalf told him to move, Anthony, who was a student at Frisco, allegedly reached inside of his bag and said, touch me and see what happens. The affidavit said Metcalf then touched him, to which Anthony replied, punch me and see what happens. He was literally goading him into an excuse to use that knife, and you can't convince me otherwise. That's exactly how this went down. Just like every stupid, idiotic, testosterone-fueled high school fight that's ever happened. Touch me again, see what happens. Why don't you hit me? Because I remember when I was young, kids all used to believe that if you didn't hit them first, then you wouldn't get in trouble, which never was the case at all. Both students would get suspended if there were fights. Again, according to the report, Metcalf grabbed Anthony and told him to move. When Anthony pulled out a knife, then he ended his life. So how do you spin that? How do you spin that into you were fearful of your life? You were literally there. Nobody stopped you from leaving. In fact, they were asking you to leave, and you purposefully escalated the situation. I do not believe there is any chance at all that this was a real self-defense case, but that doesn't mean the jury won't let us down and rule in his favor. That's why I will continue to cover this case. I don't think we're going to have, obviously we'll have the paperwork tomorrow to report on, but then there probably won't be much to talk about until we get a date for the trial or an actual trial date. Make sure you subscribe or follow down below to stay up to date on everything. And don't forget to subscribe to Quartercast. It's one word. I'll leave it linked in the pinned comment down below for our daily live streams where we cover things as they break and all sorts of different news. We'll talk to you again real soon.